Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening over in Japan, and how will it impact our one. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what are the best decks from Prismatic Evolutions. We are just a few days away till it's released for us, and I'm going to break down exactly, see how the meta has been evolving the past nearly 2 months over in Japan, see exactly what decks are doing well. Is Dragapult, Ceruledge, and Gardevoir really up at the top? And the decks like Regidrago, have they actually made a splash at all in this format? Plus, a ton of brand new cards got revealed, and I'm so excited to talk about this one as Japan gets the latest set in just a few weeks' time, along with post rotation, which I, for one, am so excited to cover on this channel. Just want to say thank you so much for support on the tabletop video yesterday. It truly means an absolute huge thanks for everyone who has enjoyed this video, and hopefully it's going to be a mainstay on the channel. So, without further ado, let's jump right to brand new cards. Now, some of these new cards are absolutely incredible, and I love Volcanion EX. It has an amazing ability, which, once during your turn, if it's in the active spot, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon burn. We have not seen a burn sort of mechanic really seen that success in quite a long time, and this actually, instant burn if it's in the active spot, is very, very powerful. Don't forget, we have likes of Latias EX, which gives basic Pokemon free retreat, so instantly I'm thinking about this one. But the best partner for this one got revealed in this set, Magmortar. During Pokemon checkup, put 3 more damage counters on your opponent's burnt Pokemon. So all of a sudden that 2 damage counters get put on from Volcanion, check up 1 Magmortar, heck even 2. Also need to do additional 6 more damage counters, so that's 8 damage in between turns every single time with Burn. For those who don't know, Burn is definitely the most least amount common one. It's one of those where it guarantees us the damage and then you flip to see if you heal from it. So again, I think this is a very interesting style mechanic which could be used. I think I saw like Jake Gearhart posted with this deck with TM Evolution. Instantly put this on this board doing 8 damage counters straight away from Volcanion. I really like this one, and I can see this deck definitely have some sort of synergy and doesn't need to be in the active spot overall, so after it gets burnt, so generally something to be interested about. The attack itself does 160 damage, and move 1 energy from one of this Pokemon to one of your bench is fine, but honestly, just having a random burn sort of Loxar deck could be really, really scary. Heck, even chuck some poison counters in this one with the Brute Bonnet and Radiant Sneasel. This could be a very interesting deck. Well, Lord, I really like, especially in some decks like Excalibur, 10 damage plus 50 more for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. If you have 4 water energies, 210 damage, you have 240 HP. There's another card which we'll talk about just a little bit, Lugia, which buffs up its HP to 280. This could generally see some sort of play in a single prize and Shenpao deck if it's ever going to be a thing, but you're always going to need 6 energies to get a 1-hit KO, and unlike Shenpao, which has to discard those 6 energies to do over 300 damage, this keeps those 6 energies out in play. This Metagross could have seen a lot of good play for that joint beam attack doing 130 damage, and if you have a Beldum and a Metang on the bench, there's 150 more damage. 280 used to be an absolutely amazing number when V-Stars were all deranged. When this gets out, V-Stars will be rotating. You will be gaining big one-hit KOs on these stage 1, sometimes even stage 2 EX Pokemon, but honestly the numbers are just a little bit too low, and as this is a metal type, you can't take advantage of the really good Energy Acceleration Metang. So overall, I want to see this be as strong, especially as it requires 2 psychic energies. So this could see some success in a rogue style archetype. Now we did see some other really interesting new cards got revealed as well. We saw this new Tyranitar as well, which is if it's in the active spot, your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand. So instantly having an item lock, which is very similar to like the Vileplume, but only having it affecting your opponent's side is really, really strong. Now, granted, it has to be in the active spot, and its attack is fine, doing 150 damage, and discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. But I would really see this be more of a controlling style deck by item locking your opponent on that sort of side. But Majoranet is fine as long as this is an active spot. Whenever you attach an energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon, heal 90 damage from that Pokemon. Chucking in Shenpao, you can heal a ton of energy, because obviously, sorry about that. You're obviously attaching a ton of energy and always in the active spot, which is not too bad. And they attack 20 and they get draw 2 cards. Now, when we thought we were done with Hop, we got a brand new Hop's Corviknight, and I, for one, really like this one. Granted, it is a stage 2, let's not forget this one. But shoot through 50 damage and 50 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Very similar to Thasian's 30-30, but it's doing that additional bit more damage to your opponent's bench is really, really strong. Granted, let's not forget we have the Hop's Choice Span, Snorlax, as well as also the Tough Field. So doing 90 more damage, 140 damage for free. Not too bad for 50 snipe. And then Steelwing does 150 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, this Pokemon takes 60 less damage. Again, like I mentioned, if you have all that additional 90 damage, 240 damage for 2 energies, that's not too bad. Again, we need to think about some more energy acceleration, whether it be Archaludon, whether it be Metang, whether it be even like some Crispin. There are different ways around this one. I, for one, really am liking this Hop deck. It's really been showcases surprisingly one of the best sort of owners Pokemon right now. We also have this Iris Fighting Spirit, which I really like. Discard a card from your hand. If you do, draw until you have 6 cards in hand. This is obviously very powerful. Drawing 2 of 6 is very similar to like Press Research, still can keep some of your resources available in hand, and a guaranteed discarding effect could really work well if you need some engine discard pile Pokemon, which only you utilize all your resources that need to remove any. And finally, the last few cards we want to look at, we have Raffian, which is a very interesting card that very much reminds me of likes of Delinquent, just from the type of Pokemon trainer. This is discard a Pokemon tool and a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. I really like this one, kind of getting rid of Legacy Energy and Sparkling Crystal as a guaranteed supporter when we know the likes of Lost Vacuum is going to be rotating. This, for one, I think could see some sort of play. Ends Castle kind of goes with the owner's Pokemon style themed supporter card, giving all Ends Pokemon free retreat. That's pretty, really powerful. Hop's Pack, again, we're still seeing Hop have a ton of good resources. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Hops Pokemon, put them onto your bench, shuffle your deck afterwards. Nest Ball for Hops Pokemon, really, really powerful. I really like this one. Granted, we haven't really seen anything why we wouldn't be playing this one, but this over the likes of Nest Ball guarantee you can get the likes of the Zacian as well as this by not having to rely on likes of Belly Poppin. I, for one, really like this one. And of course, we talk about this Ludicolo, which makes sure all your Pokemon in play get plus 40 HP, but fortunately it doesn't stack. This could definitely see some play, but it is a stage 2. But that Mammothswine deck, which we talked about, yeah, I think that could see some sort of success. Now, let's actually break down the City League results from this weekend and overall as a whole. So as we can see here, it is doing very, very well. We can see here that Gardevoir has actually come up to the top, being 16.7%, much higher than Dragapult, going down to 12.5%. Could this generally be a new scene that in Japan, the meta is evolving, that Gardevoir is going to be the best deck in format until it rotates? Now, the rest of the other archetypes are still doing very well. Archaludon, I still think, after the Champions League and kind of having such a great sort of matchup against the likes of Dragapult and Gardevoir, could definitely be 7.7, makes a lot of sense. The likes of Lugia, it has Regigigas, which is an instant one-hit KO on likes of Dragapult and Ceruledge, which are the other 2 top archetypes. Again, I see that why that's doing so well. And Ceruledge is definitely a big surprise archetype. I did not expect it to be as powerful as it is in Prismatic Evolution format. People are really clocking on how powerful it is with the likes of Palkia by having a Palkia in there with a Radiant Greninja option. Pretty much turn 2 using a single prize and Pokemon to get 2 prize KO on likes of Gardevoir and Dragapult deck. Very, very strong. We can see here that Ancient Box, Miraidon, Raging Bolt, Klawf, and Charizard, they're kind of like making up the rear of this sort of deck. But we aren't seeing Reggie Drago, sorry, actually having as much great performance. It did actually win a Champions City League this past weekend, and build was very similar to how we've seen before. It didn't play the likes of Cleffa, but topped out with likes of Badu, and even played a Terror Orb, another way to guarantee you can get out your Ogerpon as well, also your Dragapult's other attacking option. So you can see here that the meta hasn't really changed too much overall. If we look at the top 4, however, we can see that the likes of the Dragapults have actually only fallen down to 11.3%. No other new fun sort of surprise archetypes have kind of appeared in this one. The likes of Gardevoir taking up 25% of all top 4 results is absolutely insane. It's showing how powerful it is, and there's still no sort of guaranteed best run around this one. We're still seeing the secret box, which I want to talk about later on, but that could be the best way to play Gardevoir. We saw on the channel yesterday in the video I showcased it, we saw a more slower approach, but it does play the Badu, but does play the slower approach with the TM Evolution, the Cresselia, as well as also having the Unfair Summon as your ace book of choice. Ceruledge and Archaludon, again, decks which are doing incredibly well in this brand new format, and generally think these are just absolutely so powerful and have really kind of like taken its time over in sort of like Arthur format in the Searching Sparks and really come to shine in the Prismatic Evolution. So if we just look at these 4 results, now let's actually transfer that to all 237 results, which have happened pretty much in the entirety of the first season in the Prismatic Evolution format, except this past weekend as we started a brand new season over City League in Japan. And we can really see exactly how the meta has evolved. We've seen that Dragapult have all the results and made up 16.8% of all top 16 results of City League. That's an insane number. Obviously, it did that well in Twilight Masquerade. It was about 25% sort of style deck, but seeing it over this many events, doing that well and that consistent, it just shows how powerful it really was. Obviously, we know it is the best use of likes of Badu, but again, I do think this is also another to showcase how powerful Dragapult really is as an attacking option. It can be much slower. We're seeing the format be a little bit more slower with having Gardevoir and Dragapult be up at the top. They aren't really running the secret box as much and not relying too much on having that sort of explosive starts. But then I say all this stuff. If you look at the other decks like Miraidon, Lugia, and Ceruledge, these are the decks right behind this one, and they are very fast, full of gas, got to try and explode straight away. If we think about Miraidon, they want to, on their first turn going second, they want to be attacking with either Raikou, Miraidon, or gain a prize advantage with the likes of Iron Hands. Lugia, granted, might be a bit slower on their first turn, but they want to have a setup. They want two Archeopses in. They want to have a way to get their Lugia V-Star out and be attacking pretty much get these big one-hit KOs. Exactly the thing could be said about Ceruledge, how fast it is on the first few turns. So kind of seeing that Dragapult and Gardevoir being up at the top, where they are a little bit slower. They aren't normally going to be attacking turn 2 because they're seeing that with Badu. They're seeing they're slowing your opponent down. And we're really seeing that they are being rewarded. The rest of the format, like Klawf and Raging Bolt, are definitely at the bottom, but they are doing incredibly well. Another fast deck as well, like Charizard. This is more of a slower sort of turn deck. I would actually expect this deck to have a much higher number and could really see that being the case going into our sort of format when it comes out in just a few weeks' time. So again, that's something to really consider going forward into this new sort of format. How the deck is really going to cope and kind of like evolve as this meta is progressing. Now I want to break down some of the winnings of Champions League by analysing all of these decks here to see exactly what you should be picking up on as we go into the second legal for us on Friday. So of course, let's start off with Dragapult, and this build here I think is a great one to look at. Of course, we're seeing a sports account very similar to where I've kind of been playing around with. I think the Professor scenario is a really good and absolute must card in this deck. I just saw how much Radiant Alakazam is an absolute hindrance. Kind of having this in and paid to pick up is really good. I like having the 2 copies of Emergent Support and having that over the likes of a TM Evolution. It's another really good inclusion. For us also, Luminion kind of guarantee you get any one card from your deck is again really, really powerful. 2 copies of Badu, I think it's really like, and to really respect the likes of Ceruledge, playing 1 copy of Manaphy. Again, something which I really like about this one. One of the things I definitely struggle with this style of archetype is relying on some tool removal. For example, the likes of Jamming Tower slowing down any of our Forest or Stone, any of our key tool cards like Sparkling Crystal. That's where I really believe the likes of the Temple of Sinnoh is a really good inclusion, especially in this deck because it can really slow down the Lugia players, turn off their legacy energy, but also turn on your Sparkling Crystal. Could be a really good way of playing Dragapult right now, and definitely want to be testing out this style of build. Now, this Gardevoir deck is a little bit different to how we've seen most build. It's much more of the fast, aggressive one, which we used to back in September time. We are seeing an energy switch to move around some Darkness energies from Monkey Dory, because we are seeing they are playing 3 Monkey Dories. They are not monkeying around with all these sort of issues here, and I really, really like this one. We saw how scary Monkey Dory is for Dragapult players, so kind of having an additional one here and an energy switch pretty much means you can use all 3 of the Monkey Dories. That is terrifying. Secret Box as well makes you kind of like be very fast, very aggressive. Gets your team evolution in the early game, but also gets your rare candy in the mid to late game as well to bring out a Gardevoir absolutely out of nowhere. There's again similar to said about why we're playing a Professor's Research in this deck as well, but because you are playing that, you are playing lower copies of a Churro scenario and also likes of a Night Stretcher as well. Again, a little bit different to talk about with Gardevoir, but I really do love Gardevoir right now in this format. This is not playing any Badu sort deck, but it's a much more faster, much more aggressive sort of archetype. Could this be the best way to kind of keep up in this brand new format? Now we see this Ceruledge here, and again, we're seeing Ceruledge kind of like evolve into more of his thing. I could talk about it in a few days' time as well, but we are seeing the Palkia package be the best way for Ceruledge to really work around. We are seeing that's the best way for utilize Radiant Greninja. We've seen Badu, we're seeing Monkey Dory, we're seeing Brilliant Blender. We've seen so many good key cards in this deck. I love the Jamming Tower because you are slowing down the Forest Hill Stone, but also slowing down the Sparkling Crystal. The Bravery Charm, so we can actually get these big one-hit KOs early on. You sometimes might not be attacking Ceruledge until pretty much your 3rd turn, because you're going to be wanting to attack with Radiant Greninja on your 2nd turn. Be that aggressive sort of turn as well. Some decks are playing like some Prime Catcher. We saw that do really well in the Champions League, but I think Brilliant Blender is still the best of ace spec for Ceruledge right now. It's definitely something to be considered about if you are a Ceruledge head right now, trying to play this sort of build as well. Maybe out of Badu, maybe not, but each build is still absolutely incredible. Now, Lugia is a deck which annoyingly, I think it's really good, but also terrible at the same time. I always find whenever I'm playing with Lugia, I get this thing called Lugia hands, and you just can't really draw anything. But this one here, we are still saying it goes very fast, but it's all gas, and honestly, it is still very, very aggressively fast. We are still saying it does play that new Regigigas. I think that's the best card to include in Lugia. I don't think you should be playing that new Minchino, which is 70 HP. I think the one with the tool removal is still much, much stronger, because especially if we think about Dragapult being as incredibly strong as it really is, slowing them down by removing any of their very key. Tool cards is much stronger than potentially just having a vanilla 70 HP Pokemon. I think the Wellspring Math Ogerpon is incredibly strong. I also think the item cards are really powerful. You're not playing as many, but obviously the item cards you play are very impactful, like Ultra Ball and Capture Roma to get your Archeopses. But again, there's something to really consider about going forward in this format. I really like that Dust Ball by if you get Ionode and you get a key card and a discard in the bottom of your deck, just play this one to guarantee you can get it straight back. Now, Miraidon, and this is a really interesting one. This is exactly why I want to talk about this. It's still very much the Miraidon how we know and love, but they aren't playing any of the key Area Zero Underdepth. So you aren't playing the Pikachu, so you aren't extending your bench and really relying on just those five benches on the slot. I also love the Mimikyu, not Mimikyu. The Max Pokemon, it is escaped from my head and it's just going to come back to me. Morpeko, sorry. And it works really well with the likes of your electric generators as well, also aside from its code breaking by looking at the top few cards of your deck or potentially even stacking them with one so you can make sure you can attach that additional more energy. The Tatsugiri to guarantee you can get your Arven or Boss's Orders in the late game, and this works really well when Latias give it itself free retreat. This deck is very much still very fast, very aggressive. It isn't very much honed on having the large bench, which is what we've been used to in Miraidon since pretty much Surging Sparks really released the likes of Pikachu, or more importantly, back when Area Zero Underdepth was out in September time. So again, this is something to think about. Is this the best way to play Miraidon? Just kind of think about it, not relying more of a large bench size, going a bit more small, a bit more compacted, potentially good option for more outs for your supporters in the late term. Now, Archaludon, it's another very, very powerful archetype, and I've learned the hard way how good Archaludon really is into the likes of Dragapult. Reason why Dragapult really struggles with this deck, we can't get these big one-hit KOs on this one because it can just chuck a Relicanth and then it can attack you for pretty much all of that damage plus 80 with Duraludon's first attack. You also have 300 HP, so you can't really one-hit KO it. You can instantly heal it always by having the Churi to pick it up and then using its ability to Energy Accelerate, as well as also having the super scoop up Cyclone as well. There are so many interesting ways about why Duraludon is just so much stronger than multiple other sort of style decks. I do like the one more line of Dialga. I think Dialga is an amazing secondary attacking option. Having the Star Cronus as a V-Star power, potentially taking an additional turn and potentially winning that way is even better than most sort of style archetypes. And of course, you have the other attack as well, doing 40 plus 40 for each metal energy attached to this one. You can easily energy accelerate this from evolving into guys as much as possible. I love this deck. I think this deck is in a really good spot right now in this format. I definitely put this as a top 5 sort of archetype. But again, I'm really interested to see how this format is really going to evolve and adapt moving forward with Archaludon, and I do think this is going to be up there near the top. Ancient Box is another deck which did very well at the Champions League and continues to have great success. We are seeing it still play the Petron as a really good way to kind of switch your guys around, as well as also a good sort of attacking option in the late game. And of course, you have that Miraidon as well, doing 180 damage if you use an Ancient attack on your last turn, which again is really good. Having the Monkey Dory gets you move around some of your damage counters, as well as also deal additional 30 more damage. So that's extra 30 less style of these ancient cards in your discard pile, which again, I really like in this sort of deck. Does play a Brilliant Blender, so you can be more aggressive in this early sort of turns, instead of where I'm much for Secret Box, where I've always done the rationale, you can discard more with Secret Box than you can with Brilliant Blender. Brilliant Blender is guaranteed 5, but Secret Box, you could even get to 8 or sometimes even 9, depending on what cards you get. So again, something to really consider about going forward, if this is going to be the best way. Again, if we're in a very heavy Badu format, maybe this might not be as well, but we did see it get second place at Champions League. So again, it hasn't disappeared completely over in Japan, and it's still continually been about 8% of an archetype moving forward. Charizard is a deck which has adopted a lot in Badu. Didn't really gain too much. You could potentially add Badu, but we're seeing here that the lines are so different. We're seeing a 3-2-2 line of Charizard, a 2-2-2 line of Pidgeot, a 2-1-1 line of Duskmore, a much thicker line of everything because you have to use that Grand Tree. If you use this one, you save one of your Rare Candies. We can see the Rare Candies have gone down to 3, even though we have a ton of different evolving stage 2s, you really want to rely on that Grand Tree as a way to actually bring out your Pidgeot, which is absolutely incredible and potentially going to be game winning for Charizard. The rest of the deck hasn't really evolved too much. I think the Thornton is obviously great, reutilizing your Duskulls, as well as also removing any of your liabilities like Rotom, Pheasantipedal, and Minot in the late style game, likes of Briar, which unlocks some future turns to take additional prize cards. So yeah, I really like Charizard. I think it is in such a great spot. But it is one of those decks which is really gate kept from the likes of Badu. If Badu wasn't as strong, I would say Charizard would be up there as a tier 1 archetype right now. It is so fun, so fast, so aggressive, and pretty much one of the most exciting decks when you actually get all the combo pieces, and Charizard just absolutely takes over. So I really like Charizard right now, but if Badu is going to be constantly up there near the top, this deck here definitely needs to be side-checked, really think about what is going to be needed, and when you are going to be using Grand Tree all the time. Also, looking at Raging Bolt, this is a deck which, again, is also doing really well. And we can see here that this deck has actually evolved under the likes of Badu. We've seen how they Crispin to get some energies from your deck, as well as also chucking it onto your guys as well, which I really like. It's basically a Professor Starter, but from your deck. And you already play 2 different types of energies, well, 3. So it's, again, works so well. So having the likes of this Sandy Shocks, which works well in the late sort of game to actually energy accelerate as well. So I really like how this deck has kind of like evolved into the sort of stronger archetype, try and keep up with this one. Maybe even playing another copy of Crispin, removing some of the sort of key other pieces, could be the way how Raging Bolt can really keep up in a Badu style of deck. We're seeing it plays a high count of a draw engine like the Ogre Pond. We're also seeing it does only go down to 3 copies of Raging Bolt. So again, something to really consider and think about moving forward. Is this going to be how we're going to be adapting Raging Bolt? Are we going to be seeing more Crispins be added in this one? Or is this generally just people too over preparing into something which may not actually be as scary as people think? And finally, I want to look at Klawf, and oh boy, I love Klawf in this new format. Klawf with or any deck Badu with Hazel with poison stuff is absolutely terrifying. To put it in perspective, Badu obviously does 10 damage and item locks the opponent. Now, if it's poison, you can put the binding mochi on it. Now it's doing 50 damage plus additional 10 more damage with poison, so that's effectively 60 damage. And then all of a sudden you play the Radiant Sneezer, that's additional 2 more damage counters, so you're doing 80 damage on the opponent's active Pokemon, item locking them, and they can't unlock Serendipity because if you've KO'd their Dreepy or Charmander or Ralts, that was in between turns, that doesn't unlock Serendipity, and also this very, very scary Badu can absolutely be devastating for the opponent's side. I love this one as well. You also play that new Karate guy, which does additional 40 more damage to the opponent's active Pokemon EX. So again, that's another way for Terrapagos to get these big one-hit KOs. Similar thing with likes of Klawf as well. Or generally, if you want Badu to do over 100 damage, that's terrifying to think about overall. So again, that's something to really think about why this deck is doing so well right now. I think it's another best utilizer of Badu. It's one of the best attacking options for this deck, especially if you're going second, slow down your opponent, completely item locking them. And generally, I think this is just such a good position of deck right now. So generally looking forward, why is Dragapult doing so great right now in this format? We saw it got nearly 16.8% of all those City League results on season 1. And then obviously in this weekend, getting a 12%. That's still very, very good. It's still such a powerful archetype. It's this meta really set in stone. But after this weekend, we can really tell it's not. Gardevoir jumping up there in the second place, as well as also Ceruledge doing incredibly well. Dragapult numbers may be against it right now. And we're seeing other decks really kind of to shine in the Badu style format. Could we really see the likes of Terrapagos and Klawf, we seem to really well in our format, can that really translate over in the next couple of weeks? And how ready is everyone for rotation? Obviously for us, we don't get it till April time, of course, but we'll be covering on the channel in just a few weeks' time. Will we see Hop Zacian kind of be like an ADP Z-cell level of archetype? Or generally, will the format not change too much? And Dragapult is still going to be up there at the top, and Gardevoir is really going to evolve and change. So I'm really excited about what really format and the rotation could really bring to us. So without further ado, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below what deck you are excited about to see in this Prismatic Evolution format. Of course, on Friday, the set is legal and I'm releasing my top 5 archetypes on this format. What deck do I put up there? Is Dragapult making up at the top, or is even Regidrago even making my top 5? But I just want to say thank you again so much for the support on the video yesterday. If you haven't, please make sure to check that out and make any actual comments and feedback, because this is something I want to hopefully try out a little bit more on the channel. My name is Charizard TCG, and I'll see you guys later. Bye for now.